Welcome back to Wiki Reads. In part 1 and 2, we explored the origins, development, and early evolution of the AH-64 Apache, from Cold War necessity to battlefield dominance. But today, we go further. This isn't just about how the Apache was built, this is about how it fights. From advanced targeting systems to night vision capabilities to real-world combat operations across multiple theaters of war, the Apache didn't just enter service, it changed modern warfare. This is Wiki Reads, and this is the AH-64 Apache Part 3. The AH-64E is able to control unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, previously performed by the OH-58 Kiowa. Apaches can request to take control of an RQ-7 Shadow or an MQ-1 Charlie Grey Eagle from ground control station to safely scout via data link communications. There are 4 levels of UAV. 1. Indirectly receives payload data. 2. Receives payload data through direct communications. 3. Deploys the UAV's armaments. And 4. Takes over flight controls. UAVs can search for enemies and, if equipped with the laser designator, target them for the Apaches or other friendly air. Boeing has suggested that the AH-64 can be fitted with a direct energy weapon. The company has developed a small laser weapon initially designed to engage small UAVs that use a high-resolution telescope to direct a 2 through 10 kilowatt beam with a diameter of a penny out to a range of 5.4 nautical miles. On the Apache, the laser could be used to destroy enemy communications or radio equipment. On the 14th of July, 2016, it was reported the AH-64 had successfully completed testing of the MBDA Brimstone anti-armor missile. In January 2020, the U.S. Army announced it was fielding the Spike NLOS missile on the AH-64 Echo Apache as an interim solution to acquire new munitions that provide great standoff capability. Operational history in the United States, the 20th century. In January 1984, the United States Army formally accepted its first production AH-64 Alpha, and training of the first pilots began later that year. The first operational Apache unit, the 7th Battalion, 17th Cavalry Brigade, began training on the AH-64 Alpha in April 1986 at Fort Hood, Texas. 2 operational units with the 68 AH-64s first deployed to Europe in September 1987 and took part in 2 large military exercises. Upon fielding the Apache, capabilities such as the FLIR use in extensive night operations made it clear that it was capable of operating beyond the forward line of our own troops, to which previous attack helicopters were normally restricted. It was discovered that the Apache was coincidentally fitted with the Havoc Quick UHF radio system used by the Air Force, allowing inter-service coordination and joint operations such as the Joint Air Attack Team, JTAC. The Apache has operated extensively with close air support. Aircraft such as the United States Air Force Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II and the United States Marine Corps McDonnell Douglas AV-8 Bravo Harrier II, often acting as a target designator to conserve the Apache's own munitions. The Apache was first used in combat in 1989 during Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. It participated in over 240 combat hours, attacking various targets, mostly at night. General Carl Stein, the commander of the operations, stated, "You could fire that Hellfire missile through a window from 4 miles away at night." Nearly half of all U.S. Apaches were deployed to Saudi Arabia following Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990. During Operation Desert Storm on the 17th of January 1991, 8 AH-64 Alphas, guided by 4 MH-53 Pavlos, destroyed part of Iraq's radar network in the operation's first attack, allowing the attack aircraft to evade detection. Each Apache carried an asymmetric load of Hydra 70 rockets, Hellfires, and 1 auxiliary fuel tank. During the 100-hour ground war, a total of 277 AH-64s took part, destroying 278 tanks, numerous armored personnel carriers, and other Iraq vehicles, for a total of over 500 kills. One of the AH-64s was lost in the war, crashing after a close-range RPG hit. The crew survived. While effective in combat, the AH-64 presented serious logistical difficulties. Findings reported in the 1990 stated maintenance units could not keep up with the Apache's unexpectedly high workload. To provide spare parts for combat operations, the U.S. Army unofficially grounded all the other AH-64s worldwide. Apaches in the theater flew only 1/5 of planned flight hours. Such problems were evident before the Gulf War. The Apache played roles in the Balkans during separate conflicts in Bosnia and Kosovo in the 1990s. During Task Force Hawk, 24 Apaches were deployed to a land base in Albania in 1990 for combat in Kosovo. These required 26,000 tons of equipment to be transported over 550 C-17 flights at a cost of $480 million. During these deployments, the AH-64 encountered problems such as deficiencies in training, night vision equipment, fuel tanks, and survivability. In 2000, Major General Dick Cody, the 101st Airborne's commanding officer, wrote a strongly worded memo to the Chief of Staff about training and equipment failures. Almost no pilots were qualified to fly with night vision goggles, preventing nighttime operations. The Washington Post printed a front page article on these failures, commenting, "The vaunted helicopter came to symbolize everything wrong with the Army as it entered the 21st century. Its inability to move quickly is its resistance to change, its obsession with casualties, its post-Cold War identity crisis. Although no Apache combat missions took place, 2 were lost in training exercises. An ineffective network of Yugoslav air defense stopped Apache from being deployed on combat missions to Kosovo." The 21st century. U.S. Apaches served in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan during the war in Afghanistan, 2001 through 2021. It was the only Army platform capable of providing accurate CAS duties for Operation Anaconda, often taking fire and quickly repaired during the intense early fighting. Apaches often flew in small teams with little autonomy to react to threats and opportunities, requiring lengthy dialogue with centrally micromanaged command structures. US AH-64Ds typically flew in Afghanistan and Iraq without longbow radars in the absence of armored threats. On the 21st of December 2009, a pair of US Apaches attacked a British-held base in a friendly fire incident, killing 1 British soldier. In 2003, the AH-64s participated in the invasion of Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom on March 24th, 2003. 31 Apaches were damaged. 1 was shot down in an unsuccessful attack on Iraqi Republican Guard Armored Brigade near Karbala. Iraq tank crews had set up a flak trap among terrain and effectively employed their guns. Iraq officials claimed a farmer with a BRNO rifle shot down the Apache, but the farmer denied his involvement. The H-64 came down intact and the crew were captured. It was destroyed via airstrike the following day. This incident had significant consequences for the AH-64 helicopters because it revealed an important vulnerability. Despite being considered by Army aviators as a flying tank at the time, it became clear that the AH-64 is actually highly susceptible to rifle fire. As a result, the Army quietly disclosed in early 2006 that the AH-64s would no longer have a major role in carrying out attacks deep inside enemy lines. By the end of the U.S. military operations in Iraq in December 2011, several Apaches had been shot down by enemy fire and lost in accidents. In 2006, an Apache was shot down by a Soviet-made Stella II SA-7. Despite it being typically able to avoid such missiles, in 2007, 4 Apaches were destroyed on the ground by insurgent mortar fire using web-published geotag photographs taken by soldiers. Several AH-64s were lost to accidents in Afghanistan. Most Apaches that took heavy damage were able to continue their mission and return safely. By 2011, the U.S. Army Apache fleet had accumulated more than 3 million flight hours since the first prototype was flown in 1975. A DoD audit released in May 2011 found that Boeing had frequently overcharged the U.S. Army for routine spare parts in helicopters like the Apache, ranging from 33.3% to 177,475%. On February 21st, 2013, the 1st Battalion, 229th Aviation Regiment, a joint base Lewis McChord, became the first U.S. Army unit to field the AH-64E Apache Guardian. A total of 24 AH-64Es were received by mid-2013. On the 27th of November 2013, the AH-64E achieved initial operation capabilities. In March of 2014, the 1st 229th Attack Reconnaissance Battalion deployed 24 AH-64Es to Afghanistan in the type's first combat deployment. From April through September 2014, AH-64Es in combat maintained an 88% readiness rate. The unit's deployment ended in November 2014, with the AH-64E accumulating 11,000 flight hours. Each helicopter averaged 66 hours per month. The AH-64E flies 20 miles an hour faster than the AH-64D, cutting response times by 57%. And it has better fuel efficiency, increasing time on station from 2.5 to 3 hours to 3 to 3.5 hours. Taliban forces were reportedly surprised by the AH-64E attacking sooner and for longer periods. The AH-64E also worked with medium and large unmanned aerial vehicles to find targets and maintain positive ID, conducting 60% of the unit's direct fire engagements in conjunction with UAVs. Guardian pilots often controlled UAVs and accessed their video feeds to use their greater altitude and endurance to see battle spaces from standoff ranges. In 2014, the Army began implementing a plan to move all Apaches from the Army Reserves and National Guard to the active Army service as scout helicopters to replace the OH-58 Kiowa. Using the AH-64 to scout would be less expensive than Kiowa upgrades or purchasing a new scout helicopter. AH-64Es can control UAVs like the MQ-1C Grey Eagle to perform aerial scouting missions. A 2010 study found the teams of Apaches and UAVs were the most cost-effective alternative to a new helicopter and would meet 80% of reconnaissance requirements compared to 20% with existing OH-58s and 50% with upgraded OH-58s. National Guard units would lose their attack helicopters, criticized the proposal. In March 2015, the first heavy attack reconnaissance unit was formed with 24 Apaches and 12 Shadow UAVs. And that concludes part 3 of our deep dive into the Boeing AH-64 Apache. But we're not finished yet. In part 4, we continue exploring the legacy and future of one of the most formidable helicopters ever built. This is Wiki Reads, and we'll see you in part 4.